YouTubers, I'm back for another one of these What Would Have Happened If This Were in Real Life RhinoTMRT Gameplay Series YouTube video. Now, I've been trying over and over again to come up with another one of these because, I haven't come up with another topic yet, and, it takes a lot of time for me to do all that. And this one's actually going to be a 12-minute one just for you to let you all know. And the idea, it's very great and all, and I just enjoy doing all these, and I basically do them every Wednesday. Well, unless if I have to delay them to Thursdays, but that kind of doesn't matter because, this one I actually came up with. It's a perfect idea that I came up with while watching a movie on Saturday. Well, it's a perfect sequel movie idea that I came up with after watching the movie after watching the movie to it on Saturday. So I finally came up with it, and I am actually going to reveal it. So yeah, and I also know what it's going to be called. So yeah. So this is what would have happened if the Chipmunk Adventure 2 Alvin and the Chipmunks Go into Outer Space movie were in real life. Now, it opens to the beginning where Alvin, Simon, and Theodore still don't have their prize money from, the end, and then, it takes place, right after, the Chipmunk Adventure 2 movie, the Chipmunk Adventure 2 Alvin and the Chipmunks Go into Outer Space movie actually takes place right after the Chipmunks and the Chipettes and Miss Miller and all the other and Dave, right when all of them drive out of like the road, and then when they drive into the sunset. However, this takes place right when they get back home, when suddenly everything seems perfectly well, and then of course they're getting ready for bed. So this is sort of the intro for the second movie, and then of course we get an intro for it, and then of course we get an intro logo titled the Chipmunk Adventure 2 Alvin and the Chipmunks Go into Outer Space. Now here's how it's going to work. Now I mean I kind of couldn't. Now I mean I guess it kind of is a perfectly good idea because in the first Chipmunk Adventure movie, they actually traveled around the world. However, this time they're traveling to different planets outside of space. So you can definitely expect there to be some sort of Star Wars pop culture references, Star Trek pop culture references, kind of the idea going on throughout all that. So Alvin, Simon, and Theodore are looking above the stars and wondering, wow, I want to go to space. And then of course the Chipettes are also thinking the exact same thing too. And then of course they wake up the next day, and then they realize that yet again Dave has of course a big business meeting to go to. And suddenly this time, so yeah, once again Dave has a big business meeting to go to, and now this one's actually in a business building rather than far ways away. Yeah, so that's kind of how it's like, and I mean it's kind of a very great idea. So this is kind of the start. I mean I know it feels like a lot like even though it may be a rehash for like Dave's character, how like he was. In the first movie, he was going on a business trip, and then he lied about it just to go to a different country. And then he basically did that for some odd reason. And now the idea is that David goes to a real business building, while Alvin and Simon and Theodore and also the Chipettes, they all go to outer space. So. Yeah, I mean, I always wondered how that would play out. So, yeah, I mean, it is a very interesting idea, seeing how they've already traveled throughout the other world, seeing how they've traveled all throughout the entire Earth. Why not travel to different planets and worlds outside of different galaxies? So this is kind of a very great idea. So Alvin, Simon, and Theodore come up with create their own spaceship, and then it turns out the Chipettes actually create their own spaceship as well. So basically, both the Chipmunks and the Chipettes are all like, the Chipmunks are all like, no, we're gonna go to outer space first. But then the Chipettes are all like, no, we are gonna go to outer space first. So they both argue who's going to go over to outer space first. But then, they accidentally both go. They accidentally both go to outer space at the exact same time. But then suddenly this time, Alvin, Simon, and Theodore are actually in a different are actually sent to a different galaxy. While the Chipettes are all sent to another galaxy. So both of them are in two different galaxies. In order for them to go home, they have to get together in order to get back to Dave and Miss Miller. And you kind of get the idea throughout all that. Yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of see the idea throughout all that. So, of course, Alvin, Simon, and Theodore and the Chipettes eventually go through their own two spaceships all the way up to space, and then Dave gives out that famous iconic line at Alvin. He says that famous iconic line. He says that famous iconic line once he sees them once he sees them leave Earth, once he sees Alvin, Simon, and Theodore leaving Earth beyond a spaceship, leaving Earth with a rocket, and of course, everything seems perfectly well. And then, of course, we cut open to sometime later in the film where Alvin, Simon, and Theodore are now finally in space, and so are the Chipettes. However, both of them are actually fighting through their own spaceships. Except only this time, they both of course have to go through asteroids. So this is kind of the idea. And then here we see the main villain. So the main villain is actually someone from a different planet, from a different reality of a different planet. And he, of course, goes by the name of the evil chipmunk alien. So the evil chipmunk alien, the evil chipmunk alien now says that there are finally now says that the good chipmunk prophecy about six chipmunks who would work together to destroy him was finally true. So yeah, this was kind of the idea. So yeah, I guess this is kind of a very great idea. And there would be a lot of like science fiction references, like from Star Wars, Star Trek, Spaceballs, and Buck Rogers. There would be a lot of like a science fiction movie references in there. So yeah, I kind of like the idea of that. So both the Chipmunks and the Chipettes get separated from each other. For the record, I guess it's kind of the best thing, seeing how they were separated from the first film, so it seems only fair to separate them into two different galaxies. However, the Chipmunks are actually very odd about all this, but much like in the first film, the Chipmunks actually are still in space. Meanwhile, the Chipettes actually crash into they crash into like a planet, and then of course they find another spaceship and then leave that planet combined. And then of course the Chipettes are actually taken by the evil chipmunk alien. And then of course Alvin, Simon, and Theodore are all like, oh, we have to go rescue the Chipettes, even though they're our sworn girly arch enemies. And even though they are, so yeah, they would eventually go and save them. So yeah, I'm guessing they would eventually go and save them in an epic fighting battle scene, and then of course Alvin, Simon, Theodore, and all the other in the Chipettes, they all fight against the evil chipmunk alien. And then of course here Alvin and the leader of the Chipettes the Chipmunks and the Chipettes actually have a soft spot in this movie, therefore ending their sort of like rivalry. So I kind of wanted it to be like this, but I mean, even though they ended their rivalry, they still, yeah, so you kind of get the idea coming throughout all that. And I mean, this is actually a very, very, very great idea well, I mean, coming from a very great movie idea person, where Hollywood should just basically hire me, and where Hollywood should basically just hire me for every other live action remake, for every other live action remake in one of these movies. Yeah, Hollywood should have just hired me to do the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies rather than someone else to do the reboot, the reboot. You know what I'm talking about, right? So yeah, so the Chipmunks and the Chipettes actually all fall in love with each other, so this is kind of how I wanted it to be like. And then, of course, even though they both fall in love with each other, even when it was a dark time, and for the record, it's actually a very great one. And then, of course, we see one that Dave and Miss Miller actually come in there and be able to stop the evil chipmunk alien, therefore giving him, well, the evil chipmunk alien army. So they of course eventually stop them, and then the chipmunks and the chipettes eventually banish the evil chipmunk alien away. And then, of course, they all go back to their normal lives in Earth. And then, of course, they all, have a perfectly good, happy ending. So yeah, they all live happily ever after. The end. And then we get a post-credit scene where the evil chipmunk alien's son, where the evil chipmunk alien's son, evil chipmunk alien Jr., actually is born sometime later in the future alongside the evil chipmunk alien's general, and both of them eventually go against both the evil chipmunk alien Jr. and the evil chipmunk alien general. They both try to go against, the chipmunks and the chipettes, saying that me and your general father will finish what you started a long time ago. And believe me, those chipmunks and chipettes will pay for what they have done to you. And then cut to black, he gives out an evil laugh. Now, actually, actually, it was kind of very great, also, yeah. And that, of course, was my what would have happened if the Chipmunk Adventure 2 movie, Chipmunk Adventure 2 colon the Alvin and the Chipmunks go into outer space movie